Hello and welcome to another episode of Mad Men Sports. I'm your host, Zack, and along with me is Jake and Dave. How you guys doing today?
Good, but it's Diamond Dave, not Dave.
Diamond Dave.
He's sleepy.
We gotta get it to stick a little bit more. Diamond Dave.
Or you just have to remember.
Oh, we'll work on that. Dave.
Can you get it tattooed across your forehead?
Diamond. Just a diamond.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Jake, how you doing today?
Oh, good, man.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Day.
Jake, you went fishing again. How'd it go this morning?
Not any better than last week. Had a nice smallmouth bass, but it broke my line. Need to get bigger test.
You're over, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not good, but
It might be time to hang up the pole.
now I'm going to start fly fishing
Maybe
soon.
pick up golf.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to do
He's
that.
a lefty. You can't golf. It's
Yeah,
way too expensive
there's
to get
no-
in for a lefty.
There's no clubs for lefties.
Yeah. Let's jump into our headlines, eh? Jake, what's your big headline this week?
The Buffalo Bills signed third-round draft pick Dawson Knox, with Tyler Kroft being kind of iffy on whether he's going to come back to training camp, going to be ready for the beginning of the season. Dawson Knox has been kind of stepping in that role as the first tight end, so that's exciting to get the last draft pick signed. So
Yeah, between OTAs and minicamp, he's really been shining. So good for Dawson Knox to hammer down his deal and also kind of shine a little bit in the practice sessions.
I know, and then Jason Kroom doesn't have to crap himself getting ready for week
Jason
1. So.
freaking Troom.
Former wide receiver turned tight end. Could be a nice athletic switch played there with Lee Smith and Dawson Knox.
Don't mention Lee Smith around Jake.
Hey, I really like Lee Smith. Don't love him, not my favorite, but I do like him.
We need to get him on this podcast.
We should. He probably would.
Well, Jake needs to get him in any form of capacity.
I got him
conversation.
a Father's Day gift, mind you.
That is your dad. My headline is NFL.com did a mock draft this weekend, and guess where the first bill was taken? What position?
Probably quarterback.
Wrong.
What?
Dave?
I would say receiver.
Wrong. Running back. LaShawn McCoy. He was in the 10th round, pick 93.
That is sad.
Yeah, it's not too great.
Sad, but
But
no
within the
worthy of
10th
talking
round, within the 10th round, guess who else was taken?
Josh?
Nope. John Brown, wide receiver, with the 100th pick.
It'd be weird when he's on the team.
And that's Dave's weird style right there. Someone that was worth drafting, apparently. And luckily, now there's 2 wide receivers drafted by the Bills. Who do you think the other one was?
Robert Foster?
It was Robert Foster.
Hey, I'm
I was
1
gonna
for
say Cole
3
Beasley.
here.
In the 14th
That will
round,
get 7 catches a game.
he was drafted at pick 134. That's pretty ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm undrafted. At least getting on the
Who
board.
were the top 3 players taken overall? Do you remember?
Top 3? I don't remember everyone. Le'Veon was number 4.
On the Jets team?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That was
They
the
don't
first.
have a passing game, so that's dumb.
That was the first divisional guy I remember. Was Le'Veon at 4. Yeah, and there was only one wide receiver in this first round. Guess who that was?
I'm going to
Antonio?
say it was Julio Jones.
Both of you were wrong.
DeAndre Hopkins?
DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, and then guess who was the next wide receiver was taken? Guess. First pick of the second round.
AJ Green.
Julio.
No.
Antonio Brown.
No.
Well, then that's dumb.
Kelvin Benjamin?
Devonta Adams.
Jeez.
So literally, my dynasty fantasy team is 2.
Calvin Benjamin wasn't taken?
No, he was not. Sadly, or maybe not that sadly. You don't expect him to be drafted in fantasy, do you, Jake?
No, give me those biscuits, though.
Biscuit boy in the building.
Gang, gang.
Let's transition to this. Last week, we had a little call out to the fans, and you guys responded tenfold. I really do appreciate the responses from email, YouTube, Twitter, all over the board. I really do appreciate you guys getting back to us about our fan topics. Now, because of the outpouring of fan topics and suggestions that we had, we honestly don't think we could touch on it all, and even like throughout the summer. So what I decided to do, and Jake and Dave kind of got behind me on this, was start a new segment on our website where we collect all of the fan questions and suggestions in a mailbag, and we kind of deliver like a Q&A session either once a week, once every other week, or even once a month. It really depends on volume, and we'll take in anything, we'll keep it, and we'll just put it out there on the website at www.madmensports.com, and it'll be there. So don't ever feel like your questions are lost. We'll be there to always pick it up for you guys, and we'll respond to everyone, honestly.
We will answer any question you guys have, so please do not hesitate to ask.
We love keeping the discussion going outside the podcast. Obviously, check us out on Twitter. We get a lot of responses on there, and we love to interact with our fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And followers, really.
Dave, you should make a Twitter.
Yeah.
I just got Instagram, working on it.
Good.
He is on Instagram.
Give me 2 years.
You mean I made you an Instagram?
You did.
And you're welcome.
So let's jump into the topic this week. The schedule. I mean, this has kind of been bouncing around the last 2-3 years because the new CBA is kind of coming up in the next, a couple seasons. It's time to figure out, let's see if we can do what we need to do to figure out what's the best possible schedule that we can kind of have. Because no one likes preseason games. Those are always a crapshoot. I don't even know if the players or coaches even like preseason games. It just adds more pressure onto, injury fatigue.
It opens
and
up
stuff
injuries.
Like that. Yeah. Like, preseason is too long. And our fandom begs for more regular season games that matter. Do we extend the playoffs? Do we expect that in the regular season? Do we kill preseason? Do we keep it going? Jake, what's your take on this? Give me a fresh, new idea.
I have a hot take. I want to get rid of Thursday night football games. The NFL's ratings are hurting as it is. Yes, I agree we need to get rid of preseason games, but it is no secret that every NFL player dreads playing Thursday night. You have a short week when most teams may be coming off.
Only 3 days of rest. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. And it kind of takes away hype from Sunday night and Monday night football games. There's no benefit to Thursday night. I hate them specifically because when I have to go to one, I have to take a half day off from work, and then I'm hungover as heck the next day.
Just for a Friday.
I don't see any upside, and you get to hear Booger McFarland scream into the microphone.
You ever see his hands?
That's
His
only,
hands are
that's
disgusting.
you still get the focus here.
Listen,
you still
I
get the
I
A
just
plus.
hate Booger.
You still get the A plus CBS crew
Anti-Booger
on Thursdays.
McFarland podcast.
And it should be. The Burger-mobile was a terrible disaster, but that's Monday Night Footballs. So what you're saying, Jake, is you want to kill Thursday Night Football, and that's your remedy to the schedule?
I think it would certainly help. It kind of breaks the games more into kind of the regular schedule. It builds up the hype for our primetime games, Monday night and Sunday night.
Do you know why they won't, though?
Why?
Because gambling is becoming more and more of a thing across the United States, and there's nothing going on sports-wise on Thursdays throughout the fall.
I'd be willing to bet that they get rid of Thursday night games in the next 2 years, especially with the new CBA. It's not loved among fans. It's not loved among players that play, and the owners don't like it either. It's just a money grabber for the NFL, and they have no problems getting money. WWE SmackDown's going Thursday night in October, so the NFL has competition this year.
They don't have competition. The NFL is king.
Monday nights aren't going anywhere for tradition. Sunday night football is not going anywhere because that brings in the best games and the best teams playing. Thursday nights, they did a rule 2 years ago. So, Jake, I like your idea, where every team gets to play a primetime game. So there's several times we either get the Browns or the Jets or the Bills, the Dolphins, and at that point, they have losing schedules. So there is zero reason to have a Thursday night football game. I agree. It's just for ratings and it's just for money.
And exactly. And if you have every team play a Thursday night game, those ratings are going to be horrible. And then when you see something like the WWE outperforming the NFL in ratings, when you have two lackluster teams play, that looks bad on the NFL.
In the late 90s and the early 2000s,
Guys.
WWE Raw, when it was good, this is important, Zach, beat Monday Night Football every single year.
They're not taking away games.
NFL got scared of that, and they do not want to touch it.
They're not taking away games. There are days where they have NFL going on. If they could do a game every goddamn day of the week, they would have a game every day of the week. They want NFL to be in your face as much as possible. They're not taking a day off the days of the week.
They do. The NFL requires teams to take Tuesdays off. Every team isn't allowed to do work on Tuesdays. They can work out and work at film. So they do. They do take that consideration. So when you do that,
they're not taking away a game in prime time away, because people still watch the Jaguars in the terrible Tennessee game that happens every year in those terrible uniforms where it's 12-13 and no one watches, but everyone's still watching because they care.
Listen,
it's the
so
NFL.
Jake,
there's fantasy involved. There's gambling involved.
Jake, getting rid of Thursday night games, would you still keep 4 preseason games?
Getting away. I mean, yeah, because you can't take away everything in this league. I do certainly hold a certain value to the preseason. It helps develop underrated players, helps develop undrafted players. I mean, there's a need for it, but to have starters and veterans play, no. I would think of it maybe as like a rookie mini camp, but game situations.
Yeah, my thing is with that is I don't want to. If they got rid of 2 preseason games, football would start late August. I don't really want that. I like the tradition of September. Kids go back to school. You're getting ready for football. You get
Think about the children.
Think about the
And then-
kiddies.
I'm okay with 4 preseason games, but there's no reason those games need to be 60 minutes long.
Oh.
Do a starter for starters play with first, whatever they want to do. But it's supposed to be a showcase for late round draft picks and
Should it be regulated?
undrafted free agents. So cut the games down to 30 minutes. Just do a half. Do a half football.
If they're going to do
that's
it,
never discussed.
If they're
That's a
going to
good
do this,
idea.
should playing time be regulated? Because people still have to buy the tickets. Jake and I buy season tickets every year. We still pay for season tickets.
And that's the next thing I was going to say. Ticket prices for preseason games should be close to nothing.
But they won't do that because it's all about revenue.
They don't charge for training camps most of the time. They shouldn't charge for preseason games.
Listen, that's when I take my ladies.
Listen. Time out.
Kids Day.
Time out. Here's the one thing about preseason that you guys might be missing here. They're not taking away games, and they're not taking away prices. You want to know why? Because preseason games are the only revenue that owners don't actually have to share. Those are for the teams. So when the Bills have their preseason games, their 2 preseason games they get every year, they have the Kids Day game, they have the game where you get the starters involved. They get to keep the revenue from those games. So they're not signing up to take away those games away. I wish they could. I wish they would. I wish we could go to 2 preseason games, and I wish teams would go. It would be mandatory for teams to do those joint practices for a week, like the Bills are doing in Carolina this year. I think that should be mandatory eventually, because that way you can see, practice through. You get a looks every week of a different team. You get all. They spend all summer like playing against the same guys. If they were able to play against another team for a week, I think it would make the teams better.
Yeah, and I hold great value in joint practices. I mean, if you're just going against your own guys, there's only so much competition that you can rile up. When you bring in another team there, especially non-competition team, you're only going to elevate to that next level and just perform better.
It gives you a game scenario in the time where you wouldn't really be thinking about the game. It gets you more prepared, I believe, than a preseason games where half the team checks out.
The players can't wait to hit another team. They can't wait to hit a receiver coming in.
Yeah, even if you did thud for the joint practices, it would reduce injuries.
Still can't hit quarterbacks, which is fine. I don't want Allen out.
You shouldn't even be able to hit quarterbacks in preseason. Those are the talent guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just play second strings, third strings. Don't even keep the first stringers out there.
Absolutely. So I think our reasoning here is we're not going to be able to get rid of preseason games, like I said, because they're not taking away games where the owners get to actually keep the money instead of sharing it. I think that's just the owners aren't going to let that happen. We got to be honest with ourselves there. But do we add playoff games? Think about this: the NFL or the NHL, the NBA have 8 teams from each conference go. The only league that has 6 is the NFL. Do they add 2 more teams? What do you think, Jake?
So then you would just have to add another week of the playoffs. I mean, in theory, I know it's impossible for them to do a series, but in a perfect world, could you imagine the NFL having 3 games for their Super Bowl?
See, I think it'll get boring after a while. You wouldn't get the same ratings, you know what I mean?
I like the tradition of the 6 teams get in. What I don't is how an 8-8 team gets in for winning a division or for a crappy division. The best 6 teams in each division should go. It shouldn't be an 8-8 New York Giants who won the Super Bowl that year, or it shouldn't be a 7-9 Jacksonville Jaguars who won a couple years ago. It should just be the 6 best teams in the AFC, 6 best teams in the NFC. If that means 3 NFC East teams gets in, that means the 3 best teams get in.
See, I disagree. I think every division needs to be represented. So I think you need to have a division winner get to the playoffs. Think about the 7-9 Seattle Seahawks that went in there. They went in. They had the home game. New Orleans came to them. Marshawn Lynch has a historic run where the stadium was rumbling. I mean, you get those moments because it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, they're not going to take away a team's ability to play in the playoffs just because they went 7-9. You got to win your division. That's as clear as day. That they lay that out for the Bills every year. You know what the biggest problem for the Bills is? The Patriots have been here every year. You know this. You got to put stock into the division. The division matters. The conferences matter. I think you have to keep the teams, but do you bring in more wildcard teams to kind of remedy what Dave was saying about not having the 2 teams that might be left out that are better than the division winners? Do you add teams to the playoffs?
I mean, they kind of already do that in terms of the 6 best teams. I mean, you have a division winner for every division, and then you get those wildcard spots. So it's kind of a perfect kind of remedy for that. Maybe add a couple more wild card spots. So you get a couple more good teams, not necessarily that they won their division, but let's say Patriots go 12-4 and Bills go 10-6. Perfect. Another quality AFC team.
If you do that, you extend the season all the way to mid-February as opposed to the beginning of February.
But there's nothing else going on during mid-February.
And not necessarily.
You got CBAs, you got contracts. These players are already arguing about playing way too much as it is. You can't add weeks to the season.
Yeah, but if they're going to the playoffs,
especially when they're on the verge of going on strike in 2 years.
See, this is what I think, though. I believe that no one, not the owners, not the players, not the fans, are saying no to more playoff games. Think about that. You have a better chance to win a Super Bowl
I don't
title.
even think it's being discussed.
That's what these guys care about. I bet you it is being discussed to add more playoff teams. Because I think they want more teams, more chances. Think about all the revenue they could bring in if they had, 4 more NFL stadiums packed in the middle of January. That's more revenue. That's more players trying to get to a championship. That's more fans watching. That's better ratings. You get to extend the season 2 years for meaningful football. Now, we talk about preseason. Maybe they won't get rid of it, but maybe the players and the owners come together and say, hey, let's take away 2 preseason games and add the playoffs. Instead of adding to an 18-game regular season, which no one really loves, but everyone's like, well, I'd rather have meaningful football. This is how you could possibly get more meaningful football, by adding to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm totally down with it.
I don't think it's that outlandish. I know Dave doesn't really love it. Dave, you hate that idea wholeheartedly, huh?
I'm very old school in this matter, just like the whole stadium idea.
But think about it. In the 2004 Buffalo Bills, they would have made the playoffs still. They lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they still would have made the playoffs. Think about that long drought where the Bills would.
Yeah, but you need games that matter. You need to go look back and say we should have won that game. You can't just keep giving leeway. The best teams need to get in and need to justify the fact that they're in. You need to have the two best teams get a bye week. They'd earn that. You need to fight for something. They need to earn that bye week.
And they do.
But if you add 2 more teams, then that's all 4 division winners get a bye week.
No, still the 2 best teams.
See, this is where I do see Dave's point a little bit. You have the Patriots every year, and then probably the Rams. Those 2 teams sit out for 2 weeks. Now, they really want to do that. That's where I could totally see it. Or maybe they just take the 1 week, and then the other extra playoff teams play against them the following week. And then I just think that if you get the more playoff games that matter, people are going to watch. And that's more ratings, that's more gambling money, that's more TV money. Just more, that's just more revenue. I don't know. Listen, if they're not thinking about it, they need to think about it, because it's a genius idea and we didn't just come up with it here. People are talking about it outside. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We didn't come up with this right now.
It'd be cool if we did.
And if we did, they should listen, because I think this is a winner. I think that's how you fix the more football and more meaningful football. I don't think the 18-game setup that some people talk about is really how it's going to work. I don't think that works for anyone. I think that's where you get players saying, I can't do
injury
this.
situations.
Exactly. But if you get meaningful football games, then you can kind of build on what matters in the NFL, which is players getting an opportunity, small market teams getting a chance to make the playoffs more often, fans being able to enjoy the playoffs more. You get to have, more TV ads, everything. The Super Bowl leads to more because there's been an extra week added of them fighting for the chance to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I would certainly, to your point, be okay with, not that I'm okay with injuries in any sort of matter, I would rather have someone be injured in a regular season game than a preseason game 100 times over.
Yeah, and that's where I really like that idea I said with the 30-minute preseason games. And keep the 4, just do 30 minutes, get your team the 2-minute drill situation you need, second half situation, and it's easy.
So, maybe we figure this out. Maybe they'll figure it out. I think there needs to be...
Maybe they're listening.
There needs to be a give at some point. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to figure it out and win it, but we're here to talk about it and build a discussion upon this. Obviously, as always, with our weekly topics, hit the comment section. Let us know what you think would fix this, the schedule dilemma for years to come for the NFL. Because after a while, you need to evolve. That's just everything that happens in life, is you have to change with the times or just move on and kind of die out. So if the NFL wants to evolve, because like Dave said much earlier, the TV ratings are declining slowly. They won't be able to hang up every week with everything else that's going on. You got reality TV, other sports, NBA's taking leads sometimes. They are still kings, but in order to stay kings, kings need to do king things. Adding more playoffs is how kings stay kings. So that ends our weekly discussion. I appreciate that. We're going to dive right in to our Coach of the Week, because we have another one. It's week 7 of our Coach of the Week segment. This week it's sponsored by Prima Pizza on the corner of Pearl and West Chippewa. Stop in any day for their daily specials, except for Sunday when they're closed for the week. Or for the day, excuse me. That's their one day off. The workers deserve it, just like all of us do. This week's Coach of the Week is Rob Boris, the tight end coach. It is his 2nd year with the Buffalo Bills. Before he was with the Bills, he spent 5 seasons with the Rams. It's actually funny. He had a very eventful time with the St. Louis Rams at the time.
He was big on Hard Knocks.
Yeah, he was. In 2015, he was promoted to the offensive coordinator for the last 4 games of the season because they canned the offensive coordinator, and he spent all of 2016 as their offensive coordinator. Now, wow. If you remember Jeff Fisher's final year of the St. Louis Rams, he did not have a good time. They went 4-12. They were 32nd in the offense, and Rob Boris was kind of the full front problem with this because he was the offensive coordinator at the time. Now, he doesn't have that much responsibility with the Bills, so we're all kind of lucky there, right? His best tight end when he was with the Rams was Jared Cook, who had 142 catches, 1,786 yards, and 8 touchdowns in his 3 seasons with the Rams as a tight end. So that's pretty good, and that's something we can kind of look forward to, right? Right, Jacob?
Yeah, and I mean, he looks like you should be a big fan of him. He was an assistant on the Texas Longhorns in 1994 through
Yeah, that's
97.
going way back. Hopefully he's evolved his skills just a little bit.
Hook 'em.
With 2 seasons with the Jags in 2010 and 2011, he was the tight end coach.
Mercedes Lewis.
A young guy back then was Zack Miller, who had 42 catches in 2 seasons. Now, he didn't really flourish until he was with the Bears for a little bit there, and he also had that horrific leg injury. You guys remember that a couple years ago?
Yeah, not good. That was probably the second worst leg injury I've seen. Kevin Ware still being the first.
You haven't seen Maurice Clarence, have you?
Oof, no, I don't want to.
They're all
Or
bad.
Willis McGahee, I'll
Well,
show you.
before 2009, when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars, or he was with the Chicago Bears as the tight end coach from 04 to 09. Now, he had quite a tight end resume there. With his 6 seasons there, he was with Greg Olson for 3 years and Desmond Clark for 6 seasons. Now, that is an impressive resume of tight ends. So, hopefully, you got a guy with a laundry list of great tight ends that he's worked with. Obviously, Charles Clay's not near the top of that. But he did lead receivers last year with yards, with 586, so that's pretty good. He needs to be better if you ask me, but it's okay because he had 4 different quarterbacks start last season. So Rob Boris really needs to work with the young guys this year. Jason Kroom's going into his second year with the Bills. The wide receiver tight end switch there for him, so it's a little bit easier for him to be receiving type of tight end. You have Dawson Knox, who's been really shining this spring. You hope he kind of stays that way. Tyler Kroft, he's a little bit more of a seasoned veteran in the room, but he's also got to overcome this injury that no one really knows exactly what's going on with. There's no real timetable. They say beginning of the season, they say maybe October. We'll really have to feel that one out over the summer. And then obviously, Jacob's best friend, Lee Smith, it brings him also tons of experience with the Bills, and he was with Oakland for a little bit. Blocking guy who can catch. So
It's my dad.
props
Made a
props
lot
to
of money
Rob
in Oakland.
Boris. Thanks again for listening this week, guys. We have a special announcement for next week's podcast. We will be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Madmen Sports. Check out our website for the mailbag that we're going to have set up this week with www.madmensports.com. Obviously, if you're listening to us anywhere, you're already listening to us, but check us out, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and comment on anything you need us to talk about. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy.